Hi, everyone. I am adey.meriah. Today I have Joe with me. I'm very lucky to have him. We are going to discuss many things amongst what the title says, but it all goes along with the New World Order. Joe and we have these discussions in private, and I figured it would be a good idea to record it and put it out there. Our aim is really to inform and not to cause anger, chaos, fear, none of that. This is only to enlighten and to bring these topics to light. Um, Joe, if you want to say anything.
Oh yeah, it's just information. You don't have to be afraid of it. You should be aware of
Yeah.
what's out there and what's going on. I mean, you can't wake people up if you don't know what they're doing to you and what their plan is.
And we are going to talk about who they are, those that control this planet, those that control your money system, how you live, how you think. Um, we will lightly discuss that. And I also wanted to mention Joe and I pretty much have we get similar messages. We have similar, or in fact, the same astral experience. So I do believe we're working together on some level. And so that's why we are bringing this information. Joe, what would you like to start with?
We could actually start with the good aspect of the New World Order. Not
Okay.
many people know about that. It's called. There's two different types of the New World Order. There's the New World Order we're all familiar with from the conspiracy world, the agenda to basically enslave humanity and kill most of us. But there's also there's a positive side of it, which is called, it's the New Order of the Ages. And that's basically just the ascension. Do you want to say what you know about it a little bit
Yeah,
first?
yeah. Actually, I brought this up to Joe the other day. We hadn't talked in weeks, and when I brought this up to him, he understood and he knows a lot of the same information. So basically, there's two types of New World Order, like he said. One, like he said, is to keep it simple, not in our best interest, and the other is our in our best interest, and that's the ascension. So essentially, what these well, first I'll go over the one that's good for us. The one that's good for us is going to unite us without us having to compromise our beliefs, ideas, maybe a little bit of our beliefs to undo a lot of the programming. But like you don't have to give up a part of who you are in order to conform and come together. So that's the positive one, or the one that we call the ascension. The other one is the one that they will sell it to you as if it's a good thing. They'll say, let's centralize. Well, they've already centralized the banking system. We're just not aware of it. So let's centralize everything, global economy. This is going to unite us. It's good for us. But in fact, it's quite deceptive. This is just another way for these elites to go forward with their plan in world domination, and they're pretty much well on their way to doing that right now. But their plans have been infiltrated and intercepted by some light workers, bringing you information. People are waking up as well to a lot of this information too. So that seems to be slowing them down, and they are taking desperate measures, as far as I know. I'll hand the mic over to you, Joe.
Yeah, there's a fundamental difference between the New World Order and the New Order of the Ages. The positive aspect of it promotes true freedom, free exchange of ideas. It doesn't try to control you in any way, and but there's still laws. There's still, because humans need rules. Every species has their laws and their rules. There's nothing wrong with that. But the laws are made for the benefit of all people, not to oppress you and control you and basically screw you over. Now, the negative side of the New World Order, which is in our face every day, they they preach unity. They sell it as something really good and it's appealing to some people, especially the state the world's in. They manufacture crises, so this appeals to people, which we would never normally do. You know, they put chemicals and in the food and water, and the television and the media and Hollywood. It's a big aspect of brainwashing, and they have other covert projects. People have heard of MK Ultra and things like that. That's still going on. It's just under different names, and the put stuff in the air too that we breathe. I mean, it all goes together. It's a very, I have to give it to you, it's a very diabolical, evil genius plan. It really is. But they put microchips in you. They got FEMA camps. They got the whole deal. But the good news is none of that stuff's going to happen. I mean, things are still going to get bad, and because the negativity has to surface, but it's not going to come to that. Humans are going to ascend. They're losing, and right now they're panicking. You can see it in the media. I mean, you just turn on the mainstream media nowadays. It's just deception. It's right in your face. Anyone that's not brainwashed can see it plain as day. They twist it. They just lie constantly. But yeah, it is enticing at first until you see what it really is. They promote. They'll say, okay, globalism is uniting the species. One world order, one world religion. They're trying to dictate to you what your religion is going to be. We're all one big country, which they call globalism, open society. George Soros has the open society, which they sound like good ideas until you read what these people are actually about. And I'm actually for globalism and one united species, but not the way they want to do it. They want to take away your free will. These people, they're controlled by negative beings. You hear a lot about this Satanism stuff, like Pizzagate and things like that. That's the reason they do those things, is the energy it produces feeds those negative beings, and they get that. That's how they get their power. It's really twisted, but I don't know how anyone could be that warped to think it's a good idea. But these are I call them like psychotic children. They're like a 5-year-old that keeps poking you in the face, and once humanity wakes up, you just smack them out of the way. These are they're actually very fearful, insecure people when it comes down to it. They're very disconnected from reality, and then they're not hard to beat. If we all would just stand up, they'd be finished. They couldn't do anything, because most people on the planet, most humans, are inherently want good things, whether they realize it or not. They're good people. There's only a very small percentage of people that are psychopaths. They want to control people, dominate people for their own gain, and they don't care about anything else.
Yeah, I do want to say, while you were speaking, it came to mind the difference really between the two New World Order. One is fear-based and one is love-based, and all humans know how to discern for themselves when they're being sold a lie. Like, we resonate with love, and also another thing that the elites are counting on, because they have put everything out in the open, like all of this information, all the science, all the media is telling you everything that's going to happen to you. What they're counting on is us being lazy. We don't do our due diligence. We glance it over. We listen like 10 minutes in, and we check out, and we go, to our regular TV programming or whatever. And so we miss out on the fine print. We don't see truly what they're trying to tell you. They're telling you that this is happening. There's many documents online that you can look up. There's many what they call conspiracy theory. They'd like to label it as that instead of the real news, so that you wouldn't pay attention to it. You're considered somewhat abnormal if you feed into this type of information, when in fact that's the real news. What you're getting from the media is very controlled and skewed information. You have to look at, who owns these media outlets, and why would they want you to hear this type of a news? And also, Joe and I were going to discuss, since we talked about fear and love-based ruling, or yeah, ruling is the best way I can put it. We can talk about like the fear aspects. He mentioned lightly, the poisoning our air, our water, our food supply. That keeps you at a lower vibration as well. It keeps you from reproducing. It controls the population. But also they're creating gangs, street gangs. They're targeting these children that come from from broken homes. They know exactly how to target them. They know how to make them feel like they have a new family, and really mess with their minds into doing whatever they want them to do. Drug dealing. They take these drugs off the streets, but they deal it right back to them. So it's a cycle. There is human trafficking. All of that is happening out in the open, but it's not getting any news coverage. Not a lot of us know about this. At this point, I'm going to pass it to Joe because I know you have a lot to add to this.
But yeah, that's the whole theme of the war on drugs. It's not really a war on, how can you, that's like having a war on terrorism. It'll never end. People are going to do what they want to do. But yeah, what they do is they like to take away the father figure. They want to destroy the family. Well, then what becomes your family? We'll look at rap music culture. They put a whole culture out there, and that becomes your new family. It's the gang mentality. It's becoming a thug. It's becoming a criminal or a degenerate. And they promote that to totally destroy your moral compass and basically make it seem like you have no other choice but that kind of life. And because if you come from a low income or a high crime area, the culture is that's what you do. You kill cops, you sell drugs, the police are the enemy. They divide and conquer. They split you into different social classes, and they play those classes off against each other. And whatever they can do to promote division, because they know if we all came together, it'd be finished for them. So they keep us fighting about things that aren't even real. Like they promote racism, they promote classism, they promote sexism, they promote homophobia. Most people are not like that. There's some ignorant people out there, but the majority of the people are just. So that's another thing, political correctness. People are so afraid to say things. And political correctness, if you control the language, how we speak is how we think. And that's thought police right there. It's right out of 1984. I mean, these elites, they have these metaphysical roles, just like the aliens do. You can tell it mirrors the negative beings because they work for them. They have to tell you what they're doing to you. You have to willingly give over your free will and submit through deception. And that's what they do through all these different means. It's a scientific dictatorship. It's a combination of things. A big cocktail they put together. A technocratic scientific dictatorship. It's the eugenics program.
Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and most people that have done any type of research into the New World, this is the basic information that you'll hear. But a lot of the one I want to focus on, we all understand. Most of us understand why this is happening from a higher level. It's actually for our benefit. And humans set this up to propel us into the ascension. But did you think about how this happened, without getting too much into the gory details? What it boils down to, how this basically happened, is good people stood down and did nothing. We went to sleep and just relaxed, because I've noticed good people inherently really don't want power. They don't. They'd rather have somebody else do it. And they just let evil take over the world. We all did. We sat back and did nothing while a bunch of con men and evil people, psychopaths, took over the world. Set up all these systems and everything. But that's the lesson people I think need to focus on. You got to learn to stand up for yourself, expose things. If you see something negative going on, you just don't sit around and say, oh, well, they have to learn their lesson. I guess we'll just let it go. No, you don't let it. That's what you haven't learned. You got to stand up and do something, because you're not neutral. You're not an observer. You don't have that luxury. You incarnated into this species to help it. You're an infiltrator. You came here, you chose the side of positivity. Well, that's what positive beings do. They educate people. They keep people informed. When some con man comes to your house, they tell you that guy's trying to rip you off. So don't be afraid to stand up if you see something wrong and discuss these things. Because this is all about bringing the dark into the light, transmuting it all. And you can't do that if you just stand idly by and watch. It's like, are you going to watch your house burn down, or are you going to try to put out the fire?
Yes, but the important thing also is to do it through healing and through love. There is a way to overcome all of this. There is a way by not just love, but when you receive this type of information, how you react to it is totally important. If you react in any fear-based way, through anger, through depression, and likely that is going to happen, then this is another way that these controllers of the world will control you even more. They are capable of sending these signals, either whether it's through your electronics, through your water, your food that you ingest, to make it even worse. And I can contest to that because I've gone through it. I've gone through a depression. I didn't even know where it came from. It just hit me. It hit me so hard. I didn't know where it came from. And then I realized, this isn't really who I am. This is not the reality I want to create. We are all creators. You can create your reality so that it brings you light and love and happiness. Although it's important not to completely be out of touch with what's really going on, but sometimes you just need to get away, and that's fine. Just know your powers, know you can create, and know you can beat this through love. You can put yourself in healing bubbles of light if you want to not be affected by what's going on in your environment. And also make sure that that reflects healing out to others. I send healing out not only to Gaia, but to these shadow government, these beings that are here not for our highest good. To me, that's the most effective way. But I know Joe also has a different view on this.
No, I completely agree with that. It's very important. This stuff is very overwhelming. It's easy just to become depressed, and it's very subtle at first. Like you said, it's how they get you. They want to keep you low, depressed, really unmotivated. Don't feel like talking to people. Well, when that starts to happen, that's when you really need to talk to people. It's important not to get consumed with anger and hate against these people. You come from a compassion, love-based thing. I have compassion for these people, but you know what? I'm not going to tolerate their negative agenda. Having compassion and sending love to people does not mean you tolerate their behavior. You accept them for what they are, who they are, and what they're doing, but you do not have to tolerate them doing that to you or anybody else. You expose it. You brought up a good point. The way you do it is important. You don't go out and attack people or make it think that you're coming from a position of anger. You do it in a compassionate way. Be like, okay, this is how you word things. Be like, okay, look, this is going on, but you know what? This is all we have to do to beat it is stand up and expose it. We don't have to go out and fight a war or do any of this stuff. All we have to do is tell the truth and what is going on. That's all we have to do. And the average human will respond once they see how it's affecting them, because most people are good. They want a good quality of life. They just want to be left alone, have their family, do their thing. So the message is, it's all in how you deliver your message. You can get people all whipped up into a frenzy and panic and fear, or you can do it in a different way.
Yeah, and to add on to that, we have had these, if you want to call them ascended masters, that have incarnated here to teach us precisely how to do that. I can think of a few, like Mahatma Gandhi with his nonviolent movement. There is another way of standing up for yourself and defending the truth. or exposing the truth, if you will. There's also, if you want to go further back, there's the Prophet Muhammad, there's Moses, there's Yeshua. There are so many that have gone nameless also. Madiba, the South African leader, Martin Luther King, of course. All these viewers came before us to teach us how to do this through love, how to non-violently voice your concerns and your opinions. And I think we can continue to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all in how you do it. It's good to go and learn from these great teachers of light. It's always there's no problem because this stuff is so overwhelming. It's good to not feel like you're alone because that's what. But there's nothing wrong with just getting away from it for a little bit. Take a break for a couple days. Clear your head. Go for a walk. Do whatever you do to relax. There's nothing wrong with that. Because you need a break. You stay in this looking at all this, it'll drive you nuts after a while. So you just take it in increments you can handle. And everybody has their own level of tolerance. But, I see a lot of people, they don't want to talk about these things. Well, that's why we're here, okay? We're getting these higher concepts to build a spiritual foundation so we have the strength and the courage to go into the darkness and talk about these things. Like, lots of people don't like to talk about politics, for example. Well, if you can't talk about politics without lowering your vibrational level, I think that's a problem.
Absolutely. I know that I try not to get into politics, but I'm certainly not feeding fear into it. That's the whole idea, is to come from a different point of view rather than fear, because fear has become so comfortable to us. We are so used to being led and controlled by fear. And so we tend to run towards fear, which gives us a certain level of comfort. And we do not want to put light on anything that's really happening. We have been given this reality. For some, it's very comfortable, and they can't imagine being without all their things. So yeah, I agree with you, Joe. It's okay to expose the truth if you want. I hate using that word, but I'll use that word. I like to say, bring light to it. But yeah, that is what we're here to do. Do you have anything else to say, Joe? Do you want to talk about the families?
Yeah,
Who they are?
Yeah, we can do that. There's basically 13 of them, but they've branched out so much. They control basically the aspects of everything. Yeah, I have experience with some of the families. I'm not familiar with them all, but I mostly know the beings, the negative beings, And there's two facets to it. There's many facets to it, but the main ones is everyone's familiar because we forced the Illuminati out into the light. They came from being a conspiracy theory to some fictional group to everybody pretty much knows who they are. And there's good ones and bad ones. Like I said, the two aspects of the New World Order. But I'm more familiar with the beings. And most people, when they think of the Illuminati, they think of bankers and elitists and things. Oh, that's not true. There's a lot of Yale. There's a lot of Nordics. There's a lot of reptilians. There's all different kinds. Palladians, even all these different species.
Lyrans. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's all aspects of aliens. I know we're only mostly familiar with the human families, but yeah, I would love it if you talked about more of the alien. I'm not too familiar with the alien aspects. I have connected with the human families or been present in certain meetings, but take it away with the aliens.
Yeah, basically the Illuminati, they control through science and religion. And the Anunnaki are also involved. They control more the financial aspect, the banking. I call it the banking cartel. It's centralized banking. It's basically made to make you poor, but they control the financial part of it, and they cross over, they intersect. But the Illuminati is basically the public face of it, if you will. They control you through the science and religion. They're the technological and the brainwashing side of it. And the Anunnaki, they're everywhere. They're in places you would never imagine. They got their fingers in everything to do with money. And the majority of Anunnaki are not here for our best interest. You know, I wouldn't say that they're out to kill you, but they're out to they like to keep things static. They don't want you to move in either direction too much. They want to keep you right where you are. And then the majority of them are negative for us anyway. There's only really a small group of them, about 100,000 of them, that are actually good. They broke off from the main collective. And I've dealt with these aliens my entire life, and I got to know them very well. And some of them, they're in a gray area. They're not completely bad, or they're not completely good. They're kind of just like, they humanized them for me, because no one is completely good. We all have that darkness in us, and even the darkest person has some degree of light in them. So most of them, I've found, the main body of it, they fall into like a gray area. These aliens, they were sent to control me and to use me for my abilities, but they also grew an attachment to me. They care about me in some regard. Now, does that make them positive? No, absolutely not. But that makes them more human to me, and it makes them, they're not totally evil, but they can't be trusted either.
Can you also say that they came here also to make sure you have the experience that you're supposed to have? Because all of this is a growth opportunity, a growth experience for all of us to fight through all of the negativity, if you will, or all that's happening around you, and find the light that is within you. That's the idea of this experience. It offers you a growth opportunity, and they are helping you in that aspect. Although it may feel like they're your enemy, I think in spirit they're not.
No,
it's just
not
hard
now.
to see it from a different perspective when you're on this level, when you're in the middle of the whole experience. It's hard to see another point of view.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's how I take my breaks. I go back into the higher perspective of it all. I look at it that way. But when I'm out exposing it or researching it, I have a different perspective. But when I need a break and just like, this is too much, you go into the higher perspective. You kind of detach from it, become an observer, and be like, okay, well, this is all working out for our benefit in the end. But it doesn't seem that way when you're actually living it. So it's good to have both, to be aware of both of those perspectives, and go in between those perspectives whenever you need to and whenever it's applicable.
Yeah, I agree. And I tend to do that more than, I don't want to use the word should, but sometimes I do detach from reality, and I don't see exactly what's being affected. I just see like the overall outcome and experience of it all. And I tend to miss certain things. But we're all here to balance everything out. So it's all like a growth and a learning opportunity. But one thing came to mind when you were talking about control. Another way that I just realized that the government controls the poor is if you go into like the projects, people that are on government assistance, government aid, technically it was designed for these people to get some aid while they get themselves together and hopefully make it out of the system. But the way that it's designed is for them to just completely rely on the government and stay under their control. No one is ever improving. Well, I can't say no one, because there are a few that beat the system. But the majority of these people are stuck in the projects, like generation after generation. That's all they know. They bombard those communities with drugs. They bombard it with violence. And it makes it hard for an individual to continue to educate themselves and get themselves out of the system. So, and these are the kids that they target to form these street gangs and keep the violence going, because that keeps our vibration really low. And it keeps us so far apart from each other. We don't even see each other on the human level anymore. We see each other as the enemy. Our eyes will deceive us. That's all part of the illusion that has been created to keep us apart and keep the hate going. So I'm hoping that this can bring a certain level of light and awareness to people.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I'm very familiar. I didn't grow up in the ghetto in the projects, but I spent a lot of time there for various reasons. But
Yeah, me too.
so I've seen it, and it really is done on purpose to keep people. What people need is access to good education, good programs. You know, an informed, educated person can then they understand how to be successful and how to get out of it. They want to keep you stupid. They want to sell that culture to you to keep you stuck, give you your government check every month and your food stamps, and just keep you where you are, and take you to jail every time they can. It's just a vicious cycle, because then you have a record and it's hard to get a job. It's all designed to screw you. It's designed to keep you where you are, not to help you. And the system needs to change. We need access to good, informed education and programs that actually work.
I agree. But as long as, they have the majority of the population under their control, honestly, I want to stay positive and say, like, this can happen in the next 100 years. But I feel like there's going to be, like, it's going to take time. It is. That's the reality of it. But at least we're making moves. We're taking great strides. Just at least open up your awareness to this reality that's possible, that's out there. It's not to create chaos or fear. I know I've said that before. I feel like that's it could be taken that way, but it's just to create an awareness and plant a seed. That's the word I was looking for. We're planting a seed.
Yeah,
Is there anything else?
yeah, and a good thing to remember is about that. It's not like it was before. If you notice, things are speeding up. Like what happens in a month now, what used to didn't happen in maybe a few years. So the good news is it seems like a big insurmountable task, but you have to remember things are moving so much more rapidly now. We can accomplish a lot of good things over a very short amount of time, as opposed to before it would seem to drag on for decades. So when I
That's
talk,
true. I have noticed that. You're right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, when I talk about these kind of things, I like to keep it balanced. You know, you're talking about negative things. Well, try to balance it with something good that's going on. And if you can't see anything good going on, think, have the way of thinking, like I just said. Well, things are happening much more rapidly. So this won't take as long as we think. Or just something to balance it out. Maybe you see something negative. Okay, well, let's sit down and let's see work on solutions. How could we get out of this, or how can we spread awareness to fix what's going on, not just get lost in fear. You balance it out, so you keep yourself balanced, and that way it's harder to get sucked into one extreme or the other if you keep it balanced. So for when you're talking about these things, always keep in mind to have something positive ready to say too.
Absolutely. I do forget that from time to time. But that we're all here to balance everything out. It's your energy, it's your dark and your light aspect. Like Joe said, no one here is completely evil and no one here is completely light. You have to be comfortable with both sides and try to balance it out and live in unison. Otherwise, you'll either, go into depression, like I have, and I'm sure other people have, and lose sight of your soul and your mission and your reality. And it's easily can happen. It's very easy for that to happen. Um, like I said, it just happens and you're not even aware of it. All you know is, you haven't gotten out of bed in a few days or something. You haven't gone outside, gotten, actual sunlight, gone to nature. All these things that are around you are there to help you with the balancing and with the healing. Just know that you have free access to healing. You can always ask nature and Gaia to help you as well as your guides if you are in contact with them.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean, politicians go to nature. I mean, what did Hillary do after she lost? You know, a runner saw her in nature. That's where they go to heal and to relieve themselves of all of the stress.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I think she was actually in the park looking for children, but
Oh my God, Joe.
besides, yeah.
Well, I don't know about all that. It's possible. Anything is possible. But I would like to stick to the healing aspect of nature, but that's possible too. Yeah, she's
No,
involved in a lot of
that was
things, you know.
just a little,
I believe that. The
just a
child
little,
trafficking.
yeah, just a little morbid joke, but it's, al- it's also good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to do that too. It may sound
That's
horrible, but
good. Make
it's
light of
good.
it.
Make it humorous. It's serious and it's horrible, but the reptilians are very good at that. They find a dark sense of humor, and laughter is good in any. And if you can make people laugh, no matter what it is, it's good.
Yeah, it raises your vibration. It brings you out of, the slump or the depression, of course. Yeah, laughter is, like they said, the best medicine.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Just hope people can take your jokes, Joe.
Well, it's a particular personality, but yeah, it's also important. As long as you may not agree with how somebody delivers their message, like a lot of people, they don't agree with Alex Jones, but he markets himself to a certain audience, and he does have good intentions overall. But a lot of people don't like the way he delivers the message. Well, that's fine, as long as you don't have to agree with how they're delivering the message or even everything they say. But what's their intention? What's their motivations? As long as it's good, let them go, because they're marketing to a certain group of people. A certain group of people, that's where they go to get their information, and you do it a different way, and that's completely fine. Because you'll appeal to a whole nother group of people, and good people will always find common ground and come together in the end anyway. We may not agree on everything, but we can agree on certain things. We want good things. We want a better quality of life. We want freedom. We want unity. We want these things. So we have common ground. We can always work together on some level. And then these people that have bad intentions, it's good to recognize them for who you are, for who they are. They're not here to help you. You just recognize them for who they are and what they're trying to do. You accept them, you show them compassion, but you do not tolerate their stuff. Be like, that person's out to get us. There's nothing wrong with saying that. You're not judging them. It's a fact. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong.
No, I agree. I agree. And earlier, what was it that you said? It brought something to mind, and it completely left me. So I'm gonna let you keep talking. Maybe we'll come back.
Okay.
I remember Alex Jones. You're right.
Okay.
He has really good intentions. I used to watch him all the time, but I am one of those people that believe his delivery just it sets like panic or something. He's panicking when he's delivering it because his heart is in the right place, but he kind of lets his panic show through. And you're right, certain people connect to that type of energy. I can't connect to it because I don't want to panic. I don't want to live in fear. But there are those who do not let this kind of delivery get to them. So they do take in the news. Another thing that is a concern to me is if you're looking at the history of this country, for example, it's not just this country, it's the world. We have such a violent history. When people get this kind of energy, they just want to get up and get their shotguns and they're ready to go kill the person that's doing this to them. And so my one concern is that it's going to get to those type of people. And so that's why, like you said, it's important to balance it out. You get this type of, reality news, you balance it out with something good, or you try to talk about how you can heal and how you can move forward in a peaceful way. And so I do check in with Alex from time to time, but I just can't on a regular basis, like watch his channel.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You gotta know how to take that guy. Like, it doesn't scare me. It kind of energizes me. But like I said, it's just a different type of personality. He's marketing towards a certain group of people. and that's fine. If that type of delivery frightens you, or then find your information somewhere else. That's all there is to it. That doesn't mean he's bad or a fearmonger. It just means it's not for you. Uh, you know.
Absolutely, I agree. It does not mean he's bad or a fearmonger. Now, David Icke, I feel differently about him. He does have, good information about the reptilians, but I feel like, and we kind of talked about this before, he kind of zeroes in on them, like only talking about him in a negative way. Hollywood does a good job of that, so we don't need somebody else, doing that. We talked about programming and how aliens are only portrayed as negative beings. They're here, if you do see them or if they do touch down, they're here to control you, they're here to harm you, enslave you. That's not necessarily true for all aliens. It's not fair. And I feel like he's also feeding into that, although he does have good information.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. That David Icke, he has great information, and I really like some of his speeches. But he never talks about the positive aliens. Never. Never talks about anything good or how the ascension or really anything like that. So that's a red flag to me. I go there and I get certain information. I like some of his speeches, but I really don't listen to the guy.
Yeah, the important thing is when you go, because now there's so many outlets that you can go to get your information. The important thing is not to hang on to every word that a speaker or a channeler, whatever, tells you. The idea of it all is for you to take in that information and find your own truth, because you all have this awareness deep down. All of us came here to be a witness to the beginning of the ascension, the beginning of the golden age. And all of us that are here at this very important timeline have something to offer towards this ascension. So it's a matter of waking up to your own reality. And so take what you will from these channelers, these documentaries, these speakers, and then the rest is your job. It's your job to seek your own truth and let that resonate with you and see what you get. And then you pay it forward. You go out there and you speak your truth, and hopefully somebody else out there will get to their truth from you. That's the idea. You have to start thinking for yourself. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, it's a ripple effect. You do one thing, other people listen to you, but it's good. Don't blindly follow anyone. I don't care if somebody's channeling Jesus Christ. You question what they're telling you, because the real Jesus would want you to question everything, even if it's coming out of his mouth, because he wants you to think for yourself, not be told how to think, not to hang on every word and just believe everything, or take it as that's the authority on information. No, the whole goal of this is to think for yourself. Come up with your own things, your own perspective, and not adopt somebody else's.
It's exactly what happened to him. Like after his departure, they used his whole presence here as a form of control mechanism. And it's exactly what he didn't want. He was here to teach you how to get to yourself and get your own truth and your own healing going. But instead it was turned around. So yeah, you're absolutely right. He would have wanted you to get to your own truth. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what happened to him. They turned it into a religion, a means of control. And I was always turned off by religion, and I used to, it sounds horrible to say, but I used to not like Jesus just because the way he was portrayed in churches and everything. So I had a warped vision of him. But then I really got to know the actual guy, and he's an awesome guy. I like the guy. He's one of my friends, so.
Yes, he is. He's an awesome guy. And I would hope that more people connect to that Jesus rather than the one that has been created for you.
Yeah, that's exactly true, because you'll be surprised
what you get.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is there anything else you'd like to cover?
No, I think we got it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, hopefully we can do this again sometime soon. I feel like this can help people. It's a different way of delivering the news, if you want to say, or enlightening people. So I have really, really enjoyed this, Joe. I don't have anything else to say. Do you have any parting words?
Oh, no, not really. Just question everything, think for yourself, and
Yes.
be as positive as you can in a skeptical, analytical way, you know.
Absolutely. I second that. So I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you and blessings to everyone.